So today I thought I'd talk about Amartya Sen's famous paper, The Impossibility of a Paretian liberal. So I'm just going to give an example, but the idea here is that a very deep current in economic thought is that we should do what everyone thinks is best. So suppose that there's some situation, some policy we could do, and everyone in society thinks it would be better if we did this policy. Well, then we should do it, right? Seems straightforward enough. That's the Pareto criterion. But then there's another part of thinking that we should be liberal and let people choose things that really only concern them, even if other people think they shouldn't do it. So, for instance, a liberal might say, if you want to smoke a cigarette in the privacy of your own home, that's maybe a bad example. Or how about if you're a man and you want to wear a dress, then you should be able to do that because why not? It's only something that affects you. It doesn't affect everybody else. Or, you can think of many, many examples like that, where other people might have a preference over it, but we think as liberals that that's something that really you should decide. Okay. So I thought the example I'd use here is something that I do that's not so great. So my son loves to watch me play video games, and in particular violent video games. So so occasionally, there's video games that I probably wouldn't want him to play himself, that occasionally I'll actually, I'll actually agree to sort of play those video games while he watches. So this is a knife. So this sort of violent video game, whatever. So I prefer really that neither of us play those video games. But if one of us is going to play, I'd rather have it be me rather than him playing it. And so let me describe a couple of situations here. So let's say there's situation A. Who plays? I should write who plays here. There's a little bit more room. Who plays? So there's me, and there's my son. Okay, so let's say in situation A, neither of us play. In situation B, let's say I play, and my son doesn't play. In situation C, my son plays and I don't play. And in situation D, both of us play, maybe together. Okay. So my preferences are, let's see here, the best for me is A, I'm going to use this little notation to mean strictly better than. So A is strictly better than, so I'd rather have neither of us play, but if one of us plays, I'd rather it be me. So the next one is going to be only my son playing. And then only me playing. And then both of us. Because I'd rather have only me play than have my son play this violent video game. And I'd rather have me play. Oops, I did this wrong. B should be over here. I'd rather have only me play than only my son play. And I'd rather have both of us, only my son play rather than both of us play, because, my son is playing it anyway and I don't really want to play it, so then why wouldn't? So actually, my preferences go like that. How about my son's preferences? Well, he'd probably think it was funnest if both of us played. But since he likes to watch me play, he actually prefers that I play these sort of violent video games than him. And then, if he'd rather play himself rather than nobody play at all. Oh. All right, so here are the preferences of me and my preferences of my son. And really that's kind of all I have to write. So now let's make a cycle here. I'm going to use a different color. So what we're going to say is, suppose that we're thinking about sort of a situation where we're comparing B to C. Okay, so I'm going to now write a social preference. So social preference is going to be the curvy brackets, but with an underline underneath it. So by the Pareto criterion, so maybe I'll write it here. Actually, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. We both prefer B to C. Okay, so B socially is preferred. It's kind of weird. This might be equals to. Yeah, well, let's use it for now. This means socially preferred. B is socially preferred to C because of Pareto. So I'll put a P here. I'm going to put a L for liberal later. Okay. So what is B? B says that only I'm playing and not my son. But you know, whether I play or not, that's something that's really a decision that should be mine by this liberal criterion. So really, according to the liberal criterion, oops, let's do it over here. According to the liberal criterion, A should be preferred to B, because whether I play or not, that should be my decision. Okay, according to the liberal criterion. All right, but then, whether my son plays or not, by that same criterion, that should be his decision. So if nobody's playing, well then, by the liberal criterion, C is better, because C says that only my son plays. Uh-oh. But now we've got that B is preferred to C, and A is preferred to B, and C is preferred to A, and B is preferred to C. So you can see we got this cycle of preferences that doesn't make any sense, because how can C be preferred to itself? Or another way to put it is, A is preferred to C this way, but C is preferred to A. Okay, so we can't both have something that's, you know, preferred both directions. So this is a contradiction. Contradiction. You know, it can't be true that A is better than C, and also C is better than A in some sort of social sense. So what does this story tell us? It tells us that the criterions of Pareto optimality or Pareto efficiency, and the criterion of liberal, this liberal idea that people should be able to decide things that only affect themselves by themselves, those two things contradict each other. Now this is just an example, but actually this is a general point that there's always going to be contradictions like this as long as people have preferences over what other people do. So yeah, that's Amartya Sen's, an example of Amartya Sen's impossibility of a Paretian liberal.